Hello YouTube, and welcome to a brand new YouTube tutorial. So this series is a new little series I'm doing, in which I'm actually going to show you how to recreate cool little things from other games. So to kick it off, I'm doing the first game. It's going to be Monsters Inc. Scream Incorporated. As you saw, PlayStation 1, really okay game for its time. Disney's Monsters Inc. Scream Team, and I'll be using this. And the feature we will be doing, if I load my game, is the one where you scare the little things here. So I'm currently Sully, and I can walk around. If you've ever played this, basically, you have to get up your scare meter at the side there with the eye and the purple and the green. You have to get it up to match the colours you've got. So purple, my purple bar's full, I can scare the purple. Whereas the red one over there, the green one, my green bar's not full, so I can't scare it. If you don't know what Monsters Inc. is, you're basically about monsters scaring little children. This is a training demo. So if you go up and click Scream, it'll scream and it tells you to press the circle button. So you have to press it as quickly as possible, and it'll say get to the top, it'll say press another button, where it'll go down. So if you get to the top and press it, it screams it, scares it. There we go. And that's what we'll be trying to recreate. Now, we'll not be using the same models or the same theme, but it will work. And the higher the monsters are, the more buttons you have to press. So the purple was 1, the green you will have to press another button halfway through, then the red one, 3 buttons, the yellow one, 4 buttons, etc. like that. So, let's get straight into it. So, we're back, and I've got a demo scene right here, which is really basic, but I'll go over it quickly. So I've made a floor, a light, a camera, and a player. On the player I've attached a character controller and a movement script. I've made some folders in my project, models, which is blank, prefabs, scenes, in which I've saved this scene as Monsters Inc. Scare Demo. I've made a scripts folder which has a movement script, which is in the description. Smooth follow script, which I've also put in the description, but you should technically have it in your Unity thing. I've made a textures folder with one folder inside it, Monsters Inc., and inside I've put 2 textures which we'll look at in a minute. I've made a green tint for the floor and a blue tint for the player. Just to prove it, if I go like this, you can see the player changes colour, do it with the floor, boom. All you do is create a material and assign it to it, such as that, as you can see. Works fine. So, in the textures folder I've got a tank filler. In fact, tank, which is this. I basically did literally copy and paste it from the game, and then I updated it a little bit, better graphics. The black and white edges aren't there, it is a PNG. The tank filler is right there, that's the bar what goes in the middle. They're in the description too. Yeah. So I'm going to get both of these and turn them to turn the tank to a GUI, gives us a little bit more control over it, and turn the tank filler to a texture so it's easily scaled. You'll see what I mean by that later. So the first thing we're going to do is create a player or an enemy to scare. So I'm going to duplicate the player, Control/Command D, drag it out, and in here I'm going to rename it to enemy. That'll do. I'm going to get rid of the character controller and the movement script because we don't need it. So now what I'm going to do is add a component of a capsule collider that just stops our player walking through it. I'm also going to duplicate player or right click in textures, create material, enemy, give it a red tint like so, drag it onto the player, boom. We've now got a red enemy. Simple, right? So what I'm going to do now is go to our enemy, and I'm literally going to actually add another collider, and you'll see why in a minute. So I'm going to attach sphere collider right there. You can see it's now got 2 colliders. We're going to turn the sphere collider to a trigger, which means you can walk through it, and we're going to increase the radius to around however much you want to be able to. So there, 7 for me. In fact, what's 10 look like? 10's a bit big. 7. So if you're in width of 7, then turn it up to 0 so it's in the main, then you should be able to enter that. So that's its radius. The reason we're using triggers and not anything else is raycasts aren't 100% accurate, so you'll always have to be looking, or they'll always have to be looking at you. It's hard to turn when you hard to tell when you're actually looking at them, but the distance works. We're not using range detection because if you've got like 100 enemies all going tick 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 all detecting, you will lag quite a bit. Whereas triggers, you can, if you're out of a certain range, you can just disable them, so it's okay. But yeah, if you don't know anything what I'm saying, don't worry about it, just follow along. So now what we're going to do is go to our scripts folder, right click, create, and I'll choose C#. We will be doing this in C#. If you want to do it into JavaScript, you can follow. I know I usually do things in Unity script, but it's good to make it different. You need to learn all aspects of Unity. Plus, if you learn C# as well as Unity script, you can easily convert them. So we're going to call this, what should we call it? We will call this scare action. That'll do. I can't think of a name right now. Now, C#'s a little bit different if you've never used it before, but it's really simple. So open it up in whatever text editor you have. I'm using Notepad++. So as you can see, it looks a lot different to a Unity script, and if you've never used Unity, it doesn't matter. So what we're going to do is, if yours looks slightly different to mine, it might be the brackets or something, don't worry about it, either lay it out like mine or carry on. Now the top two things are using Unity Engine and System.Collections. These are basically importing files from your computer. So this script is importing the engine so it can use lights and stuff like that. It's also importing System.Collections, which lets you use strings, integers and variables and stuff. You will see all that later. So the first thing it does is creates a new class. All C# scripts are classes. So basically what this is an object you can duplicate as many times as you like, which we can. We can assign this script to any amount of characters. It's called scare action. If you rename your script, you do need to rename it in here. Some programs will do it for you, Notepad++ does not. And it's a type of mono behavior, and what this basically means is that if you were to assign something and make a variable, it can be shown in the inspector here. It will be shown there. So void start, void update and void on GUI are functions or methods, whichever way you want to call them, and it does say what each are, but I'm going to get rid of them and explain it myself because they're annoying. Void start, basically anything you put in here will be activated once, just a single time, as soon as this script starts, as soon as it starts. If you were to use function awake or void awake, it will start as soon as the game starts, so it's a bit different. Void update is a loop that will keep going tick 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 and never stop, even if you tell it to. The only way to stop it is to disable the script. This is useful for checking things and other main stuff. It's your main one. On GUI is mostly used for displaying labels and boxes on your screen. We will also be using that. Now some more we will be looking at is if you just go down and type void on trigger enter. If you've followed my other tutorials, you know what this is. On trigger enter basically means as soon as something enters whoever's trigger this script is attached to. So if we click on that character, the enemy, and put our scare action on, you will see that if anything enters this trigger, this function will be called. Simple as that. So in brackets, because you always have to put brackets just like here, we're going to put something called parameters in there, which you have to for on trigger enter. So we're going to type collider and col. If you've used Unity script, yes, I'm doing the variable first. That is how C# works. So it's a type collider, and I'm going to call it col. You can call it col2, you can call it banana if you really want. I call it col just because. So in here, we're going to type if, bracket, not that, col dot game object, because everything in here is a game object, but when it hits it, it'll be classed as a collider. Then we're going to go into that collider and find the game object, and we're going to go into that game object and find the name, and if it equals player double equals, because you need double equals to say if, single equals to set. If set, simple. So if it equals player in speech marks, don't use double quotes, that is wrong. Use speech marks, shift and 2 if you're on a QWERTY keyboard. And then here so if the player hits it, what do we need to do? We basically need to say, right, the player is now in range of this player, right? So at the top here, we're going to go down a little bit. Do not put it up here. It has to be inside the class at all times. We are going to type, I'm going to put 2 slashes and type booleans. Booleans are either on or off. It's just a quick set thing you can do which stores it in your RAM. It's gone as soon as the script's deleted, so don't worry. So / to make comments. You can also do // but you need to do / at the end. Yeah. So in here we're going to type private because we don't want it to be shown in the inspector. So if we type private, it won't. If we type public, it will. If we leave it and just type it, it won't really do anything. So private, and we're going to type bool because it's not boolean, it's bool in C#. And we're going to type underscore in range. Underscores are mostly used for anything which only this script has access to. If you want other scripts to have access to it, you can type in range, like so, without an underscore. And if it's a static variable, you will type in range with capitals. It's just coding conventions which I've learnt from the place I work. There, so in range, and we're going to set it to equals false by default. So private bool in range equals false. A lot like normal. So in here we're going to set in range equals true, like so. And then we're going to copy this entire function from the bracket void in onTrigger enter all the way up and paste it, so we've got an identical one. And then I'm going to call it onTrigger exit. Keep calling collider, keep everything where it is, but simply turn range to false. That simple. So if we turn this quickly to public, just so we can see it, and go back, you should see it will load into here right there. And if we play, we'll be able to enter it, it'll show, be able to leave and it'll not show. So enter, show, off, show, off, show, off. That's simple. You need some more, oh dear, more persuasion. We'll go to here just so we can see. I will move the character, but you can see if we move towards it, enter it on, off. Even if we enter it a little, on. As soon as that collider hits it. As you can see, really simple. So we can now enter it and see. So what's next? Well, the next thing is we need to show the pop-up what basically says press such and such to scare. Easy, right? So best way to do it, which I've found, is in your void update, which is the loopy one. So loop, 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 loop. I should note these will only run once. You can't specify it. So as soon as it enters it, it'll run. As soon as it exits it, it will run. If you want to be continuously do it, it's on trigger stay. Then if they're inside the trigger, it will continuously be called. Really simple. So in this function void update, my apologies, we're going to type if in range, and now you can put equals true, or you can just leave it like that. They both mean is it open, basically, is it there? And what we're going to do inside here is basically say if the player presses a control key, then we can begin the scare mode, right? So we're going to type if input.get key up. So basically if there's some type of input and the key is going up, so when you press a key down, you're holding it down so it's key down, then you let go, it's going to come back up. So we're looking for that up motion. The reason you do this is because if it's down, you can get some sort of spam and it's not very good. So yeah. So if input.get key up and in brackets, now this is where something I want to show you as well, is you'd usually just put a key, so in speech marks. You can't put quotes with speech marks. But what happens if you want to set the key yourself or let the player set it? Well, here's something else you can do. If we create a new comment called strings, and just in here we are going to type the words private, because you don't really want to be setting it in the inspector. If you do, just turn it to public, it's up to you. And I'm going to type string, and on this one I'm going to put an underscore again because it's private. You will eventually make this probably static, it probably will be the best, but I'm not going to in this tutorial. Static, and we will say action control, which is basically your action key in the game. You could call it action key if you really wanted, but I'm going to call it control, and we're going to set it to E. That's my action key. I'm also going to duplicate it and put attack control, which I will set to left shift, which is the shift, which is the left of your keyboard. And now, instead of putting the E there, we can actually simply put the action control there. Then if you change this, it will change it to everything. So it's really, really helpful. And then you've got like a control thing right there. So in here, if we simply type print, and in brackets put hit, because then we can see when it actually gets to there. So now that's going to tick, so we can try it, and when we get in there and press E, it should go tick, print. Go in, so it's on, press E, hit. There. So it is calling it. Now the next thing is to actually show it. Of course we need to show it, don't we? Because if we don't tell them that they can press the key, then how are they going to know? Don't forget your audience is the main priority. So in void on GUI, which basically shows your GUI, graphical user interface, so your labels, your buttons, stuff like that. So we're going to type if in range. Again, I'm not going to put equals true, but you can. And then in here, I'm going to create a label. Label's really simple. GUI.label. And that, if you've used Unity script, it's slightly different. You have to put the word new here. And all it basically means is you're creating a new rect. A rect is a type of variable which contains an X position, a Y position, a width, and a height. So 4 floats, basically. So new rect, and after it, we're going to put 2 brackets. And in these brackets, we're going to set where we want our press this key to play button. So I'm going to set it to 512, which is half of what my Unity is, because my Unity is 1024. Then I'm going to set it to around 568. And yes, I do have the numbers listed down because it's a lot easier than doing it, and I know these numbers work. So I'm going to set 200 long and 70. 200 long because then it's easily going enough to fit whatever we put in it, and 70 down in case you increase the font size. And after the brackets, we're going to put in speech marks, press, and then we're going to put a space. And I'm going to put just a single quote, and you'll see why in a minute. Then after the speech marks, I'm going to put a plus, and I'm going to type action control. So press, speech mark, E, or F, whatever, plus another open speech mark, quote, to start scaring. And I'm going to close it off with a bracket and a semicolon. Semicolons end lines. So that should show, press it, action key to start scaring. That's simple, right? So, how do we know when they're starting to scare? Well, I'm going to close these actually, because we don't need them anymore. We're done with those for good. So, up here, we're going to go literally here. We're going to duplicate this boolean, and we're going to type scare mode. And the reason I'm doing it in capitals like this is because it will actually be a static variable. And static basically means every single script can access it, but there can only be one of them. So you cannot duplicate this. If you duplicate this script, there will only be one of this variable. It'll all be online kind of thing, in the air. So they'll always all go to 1. Even if you duplicate this script, I could do it right there on another script, and it will only go to that one. Yes? Easy. So, we're going to now set scare mode to true when they do this. Scare mode equals true. So as soon as they press the action control key, whatever we've set, it will set scare mode to true. So if we come down here, if in range, so if the players are in range, then it'll show that. But then as soon as they activate scare mode, it'll still show that, and we don't want it to. So after this in range, but before the bracket, we're going to put 2 and signs. You can't put and, just 2 and signs. And we're going to put scare mode, and I'm actually going to put an exclamation mark before it. And what this means is reverse. So if scare mode equals true, but reverse it to false. So if scare mode equals false, basically, you can also just simply put equals false if it helps you. I prefer doing it with the exclamation mark, it's a lot shorter typing. So, we can try it. And yes, this tutorial will be very long, but it is trying to teach people C# and how to do this at the same time. So if we go in, press E to start scaring, press it, it goes off, but we are now scaring. And notice how you can't see scaring in there, even though we made it. It's because, it's because it's static. Static does not show in the inspector. So I'm going to simply move this character down here, because then it's a lot better. Boom. Then we should be able to aim it forward. There we go, that's better. So, next steps. What we've got to do now is they're now in scare mode, so they're now ready to scare. So we need to begin showing the bar at the side, which is these things here. We need to basically display the tank. Really simple. So what we're going to do up here is go down a little bit, and we're going to create a new variable again. And notice I keep using the word variable because these are variables here. I'm going to create a new comment, which is the line which isn't read by the computer, it'll scan down this line, tab, move across, comment line, skip line. So you could put anything all the way over here and it'll still skip it. And we're going to type here, texture 2D, and that's what varitype we're going to create. So this has got to be public in order for you to assign to it, unless you're going to go through the reference resources and everything, but we're not going to. So public, and we're going to call it a texture 2D right there, and I'm going to call it background box. And right, if we go to the inspector here, on the enemy right here, you can see background box. We can add tank to it. Boom, just like that. So of course this won't do anything yet. It's not that simple, sadly. So what we're going to do is come down into here, and after this if statement, notice the brackets hanging up, we're going to type else if in range. So we're going to copy this entire if statement, paste it here, but keep the else on. So if in range is equals true and scare mode equals true. If you were to just put and scare mode, then it would cause some issues, so you want to be more secure. So if scare mode is true, if in range is true, and scare mode is false, then show this. But if that's broke and it doesn't, if scare mode's true, if in range is true and scare mode is false, it is true as well, do this next thing, which will be displaying the tank. The only other option you've got is if in range is false and scare mode is true. Well, if in range is false, that means they're not in range. Why do we want to be scare mode? We don't. So yeah. So we're going to create another thing called GUI.box. It's really simple, so we're going to type GUI.box again. Exact same procedure as the label. And the numbers I'm going to use is 854, 654, and then 65 by 147. I had to change the numbers on that to match the box. So after that, I am going to paste background box there into there. Boom. So now that background box should display. Shall we try it? We kinda have to. So go back and play. So you go up, scare mode, press E, boom. There we go. Look, it's right there in the wrong position. But yeah, it's there, so it works. So there's the box showing. We could get rid of the black outline eventually. We're not going to for now, because no. So, one thing I figured it out as well is a little bug we need to do is Unity cannot stretch a box from the bottom upwards. It can do it from up to bottom, but not up to top. So we need to rotate the jar on its side. A little inconvenient, but it's okay. So if we go into tank here, right click open, and you'll see it here, we can right click and choose edit, or on a Mac just open it in a text editor. Okay, I'm going to open it in Photoshop. So, as you can see, it's right here. I'm going to go edit, transform, rotate 90 degrees. Okay, image rotation 90 degrees. Boom, right there. It has to be sideways. I apologise for that. If you know a way to make it go stretch a box from the bottom to the top, please tell me. I would love to know. But the only way I could do it is the bottom to the top, which is not what we need. Yes, we could do it, but it'll look a bit weird if it's going down. It looks like it's failing. And I'm going to do the same for image filler, or tank filler. Image, rotate, 90, save. And you'll notice all this is literally just one pixel colour. So right here, all this is literally duplicated across, and that's because then we can easily stretch it and it looks the same. Boom. So get rid of that. Now we play again and it will actually look better now. So if we go up, press E, you can see it's gone the wrong way because I've set the dimensions backwards. This will be 147, this will be 65. Switch them round, go back in, test it, it will be stretched to the correct size. And next what we're going to do is begin making the little E button, what's supposed to be on top of it. So you can do it either side. I'm going to do it this side, and all it will say is which key you are supposed to press. That simple. So have a guess what we're going to use. Yes, a GUI label to those who got it right. So I'm going to copy this label here, paste it here, get rid of this, and now these dimensions, what I've set, will be 1009, yes, it's a weird number, I know, 654, and then 30 and 70, just like that. It's 30 because it doesn't need to be really big to display one character. And I'm only going to display action control, like so. So the final thing we're going to do is duplicate this background box. I'm going to note next to it background, and in here I'm going to call filler or bar. Bar's a good name. And in here we are literally going to revert it to what it's supposed to be. So duplicate the texture, and instead of background box, call it filler box. And what this one will be used for is the bar in the middle which goes up. That simple. So the dimensions are going to be different. So we're going to call it 854 in the same position, 654 same position again. But this time we're not going to call it 147 by 65 because that's not the size of it, is it? So we're going to go in, and you can see it says here 147 by 65. So click this tank filler, 16 by 64. So 16 by 64. So we're going to duplicate this one here. So we'll copy it and paste. And what we'll do in here is simply get rid of all the labels because we don't need it. We simply want it to say action control. And the whereabouts of it will be 1009. It will be 654, which I think should be 664, 30 and 70. So when we go on, you will see that when we run it quickly, we run up, press E, it's right there. So we can move it down another 10. That may work. So hopefully this is the right place, so I'll quickly test. So as you can see, it's bang on in the middle now. You can increase the font size if you want, but we're not going to in this tutorial. So the next thing is to get the filler bar in the middle. That's really simple. But we have to use something different from GUI box. So what we're going to use is something called draw texture. And basically all it does is draw a texture to the screen, but gives us more control over it. So above this label, we're going to type GUI.drawTexture. And we're going to get a new rect again, and the positions of it, which I'm going to give it, is 885, 678, and then 65 by 17. And then after this, we can put our bar up here. So if we duplicate this texture and type filler box, and we'll just make it a texture, because the text 2D is best with a texture if it's drawing it. And then in here, we've got to put some options in which it can actually be. So this is where it gives you more control over it. So first here, we're going to put what it wants to do with the texture. Well, we want it to go into a scale mode, and we want it to stretch to fill. Stretch to fill, and what it'll basically do is stretch the texture so it fills these dimensions. If it's weird or looks wrong, then you know your texture's not the right size. And then the final two which we have to put on is an alpha blend. Do you want it to have transparency, yes or no? I'm going to put false because we don't need alpha on it, do we? There's no real point, it's one solid texture. And then the next one which we have is image aspect, which is basically the ratio. Now I found out 10f does good, so just put 10f. F stands for float. You don't need to worry about this bit too much, just simply put that. Make sure you contain stretch to fill and not scale to fit, otherwise it won't be right. And then that should work. So now when we start it, the red box should be in the exact correct place, hopefully. So we go up, press E, and you can see it's not there, simply because the null texture has been passed. AKA, pass it a texture, run again, it will be in the correct place. Boom. Look at that. Perfect. Now we have control over it. So what we can do is actually change that up and down to what we need it to be. So if we go all the way up to the top, near our variables, and what we're going to do is create a new integer variable, and an integer is a solid number, a whole number, minus 44,000 all the way up to 44,000, kind of thing like that. So in here we're going to type integer, and I'm going to simply type public int because I want it to actually be so we can play with it for a minute, but we are going to turn it to a private. So I'm going to type press level equals 6, and what this press level is basically easiest way to explain it to you. When we press the keys to increase the meter, this is how much we press it. So every time we press it, we're going to increase it by a value, and this will store that value. So if we copy press level and drag it down here, and paste it on the x-axis going size, and just at the side we'll put 65 so remember what it is. And then when we go back in, we will see it in the inspector, and when we click play, we'll be able to play with it. So if we go up and press E right there, you can see it's a tiny bit there. If we increase it, we can increase it like so. Look at that. That's perfect. See how cool is that? And we don't even have to keep it there. I've set it to 6 because when I used it, it was wrong. So we could change it to 0 and be fine with it. There. So we're going to change it to private now. And now this is really, really good in which we're about to do, because we're basically going to make a little thing. When you press it, it increases, right? It's really simple as well. So the next thing we're going to do is actually check if scaring is true, so we're in the scare mode, then can we actually scare them? So whenever we press it, it increases the scare meter. That's what we need to look at. So what we're going to do is inside this if in range, so we're still in range, we're going to type if underscore, we haven't used it yet, so scare mode, actually no underscore, if scare mode is true, then what we need to do is begin the scaring. So same again, check if he's pressed the key. So if the key has been pressed, and which key do we want? So we need to set our own key, because it says that to start scaring, great. But then it only says this key here, so E. So what happens when we want to change keys? So it's a bit weird. So instead of action control, we've got to press scare control. And this will be equal to E at the moment. And you'll notice why in a minute. So if they input the get key down, so when they press it down, and then they let go, it means they can't hold it. Whereas if they let it up, you can't hold it. If you just put get key, then you can spam if you really want. So scare control, and we're going to paste it in here as well. So it'll still show E. So if E. But later on, when we change scare control, we can change it to anything. So left shift, W, R, anything, and it'll be as that. So get rid of this one here, and all we're going to simply type in here is if press level. So if our level is less than our maximum. So what's the maximum size? It's 65. So if it's less than 65, then in here we're going to type press level plus equals, and now how much are we going to increase it by? Well, we can set that above as a variable, and yes, we're going to use variables quite a bit. So duplicate this private in, and instead of press level, increase level. So how much are we going to increase it by? Well, for now we can just put it to 10, because later we're going to do some maths in which will make it work. Really, it's really easy. So it'll increase it by 10. Great. So if it's less than 65, it'll keep increasing it. So increase it by increase level. Boom. So now every time we press the scare control, which is E, if we're in scare mode, we can keep going E, 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 and it'll keep going up until it's full, aka scaring them. So press it, E, 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 look at that, and we can't go anymore, look. Perfect. We could get it a little bit right, but it's okay for now. So if press level is less than 65, okay. But now what's next? Well, the best way to do it is to sort the maths out. So increased level is set to the correct level in which it's supposed to be. So what we're going to do is come up here, and remember how I said each character had different ones, so greens, then yellows, then reds, all had different levels? Well, we're going to do that now. So in here we're going to put underscore char level. In fact, no underscore, because we want it to be shown in the inspector, so public int char level, and we'll set it to 1. So 1 divided by, so increase level divided by char level should equal 66, right? My apologies, my maths is not the greatest. So set it to 10, and because our maximum is 65, which you can see right there, so 65, if I get a calculator, there, 65 divided by 10 is 6.5. So it'll automatically round it up to us to 7 for us, so it's okay. So if we were to go increase level divided by equals, so basically divide it but set it to its own, char level, then it'll do it for us, right? So if we set this to 2, it'll divide it for us. Set it to 6, which is our maximum level, it'll do it all for us. So, as soon as it starts, increase the level, then divide it by the char's level, and that's how much it will increase. So it's that easy. So let's try it. So every time we increase the character's level, it should go up less and less and less, which requires you to press it more. So play, run up to them, press it. So the level 1, we press it, it goes up really fast. Come back to chart level and set it to the maximum and press it. Run back up to them and press E. As you can see, oh god, it's taking ages to fill up now. As you can see, that's what we want. The higher up you are, the more you have to press. And don't forget, we're going to make the timer eventually as well. That's how the game works. Yes, if it sounds weird, but blah blah blah. Yeah. So, the next thing what we're going to have to actually have a look at is, when we reach the end of it, we need to scare them, don't we, to kill them. Yeah, we jump into the end. But we've got loads to do yet, so don't worry. So what we're going to do is, basically, after we've pressed this action key here, in scare mode, this one, we basically need to say, is press level at its maximum? If it is, then basically scare them. So, rah, yeah, easy, right? So in here we're going to type if press level is more than or equal to 65, which is basically, it says, if it equals 65, or it's anything more than 65, run this. So in here we can put press level equals 65, so if it's like 66 or 70, because it will go a bit over, guaranteed, just set it back to itself. So then in here, what we also need to do is, after this is AND, just like we said in the GUI, so double AND, and we're going to copy this if statement here, input blah blah blah. So if they press, and then what do we need to put? We need to put attack, because yes, you have a different key to attack. So if they press the attack key when it's on the maximum level, then what we need to do is basically scare them. So rah. So in here we can put, just for you later, audio scare goes here. So the last one where he goes, blows up the balloon, bang, it's there. Really simple. So then in here we need to reset everything, because we've scared them, they're dead, blah blah blah. So in range equals false. So it's no longer in range. Scare mode is equal to false, because we're no longer in scare mode. The reason we're doing this is because then we can automatically check later when we have multiple enemies, so that we're not going to multiple enemies at once. We don't want that to happen. And then we're going to set the press level, and we need to make it a little bit higher. So it sets it to 65 here, if it's more than it, and they've pressed it, but don't forget it jumps to the edge a little bit. It just does, I don't know why. So we're going to just set it to 80, so it boosts it, and we can technically just get rid of that. So when we scare them, it'll go up, it'll go bang, they'll fall over, everyone will be happy. And then, in here, kill enemy here. That's where we do the enemy's death animation. We are not going to do one because I'm not the best at animating. This is scripting only. Then destroy this. We're going to destroy this script. If you put this.gameObject, it will destroy the enemy. We just want it to destroy them, which means get rid of them completely. So, we need to tell them to actually do this though. That's one thing we haven't done yet. So basically when they've scared them half to death and all that, we need to say basically, right, you're ready to scare, let's scare them. Easy. So in here, we're going to copy this if statement here and paste it inside this one. So basically it's going to come down, if they're in range and they're in scare mode, show all this. Then come down, and if the press level, we don't need this anymore, press level is more than or equal to 65 again, so if it's there, then we need to show a label in 512, 568, exact same position as that, press attack control to scare. Boom. Easy, right? So let's try it. So now it should say, do you want to scare, yes or no? Well, it won't, but we can scare them half to death now. Poor people. So we come up, and I'm going to change it to level 1, so it's 2, easier. E, nothing there, press E, la 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 la. Wow, this is taking a lot for 2. And press left shift to scare, boom. No wait, wrong one, there. Scare them, they died, everyone's happy. So the reason it didn't react to it is because, if I put 2 there now it'll work, is because when we played it, it already did this. so it's already finished it, which is a bit meh. But we can finish it later. So what we could actually do instead then is cut this and paste it in here. So if they're in range of the player and in range is true, increase the level to char level. So as soon as they enter it, do that. That's where we can get it. Or if you don't want it there, you could technically actually do it here. So if they're in range and they press the action key, sort the levels out, then carry on. So yeah, now it'll work perfectly. So the next thing we're going to have a look at is actually the timer ticking it back down. Of course we want it to go down and, like, you know, make it a bigger challenge, because at the moment it's really easy. So you have to be a fast clicker to do it. And you could make it really fast and torture them, but yeah. So in here we're going to type a new variable integer, timer, and we're going to set it. Now I've found 10's a really good one. 6 is impossible to beat. Well, it's not, you'll do it. 8 is a challenge, 10 is good, 12 is a bit easy. So 10 is good, it's a good one, and you can change that. And I'm also going to create another one called max timer, and this makes it easier to set. So what I'm going to do is in start right here, I'm simply going to say timer, yes, in start equals max timer. So set the timer at the beginning of the game so it equals max timer. So if we change max timer, it changes timer for us, so we only have to change 1. It's a lot easier. Yeah. So, what we need to do is basically put these timers in such a place that every time we press it, the timer is reset, so it's not going to constantly keep ticking down. But if the timer ticks down and you haven't pressed, then it, you know, kicks you off. Well, not literally, but yeah, it will knock one down. So what we're going to do is come down here, and where it says timer equals max time, we're going to copy it, and we're literally going to paste it inside here. So if they press the key, even if they're at the top, it will reset the timer, so it won't take anything off. That's what we want. So now we need to do the timer section. So basically, if the timer is ticking down, then it does it. That simple. So underneath everything, but not above scare mode, we're going to type if press level is more than 6. So basically, if it's not at the bottom, then we're going to go here and we're going to simply type timer minus minus. So take 1 off of the timer every time the loop comes down, and it will be incredibly fast. But that's why the 10's there. So 10 ticks of the processor. Tick, 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 tick. And it'll keep going down like that, so it'll work. Then under here, we're going to type if timer is less than 3. So if it's got 3 processor ticks left, then what we're going to do is set timer back to max timer. Like so. So reset the timer, but take something off the press level. Now how much shall we take? I say we take the exact same amount as the player's pressing. So not max timer, increase level. Right here. So if the char's a hard one, they'll be taking a lot more off. But if they're not, then it'll be taking the same amount off. Easy, right? So there's that. However, what we want to do here now is basically say if, so put else, if press level is less than 6, so basically because as press level is going to keep coming down, 10, 20, 30, 40, well no, wrong way, 40, 30, 20, 10, it's going to keep going down. We don't want it less than 0, so we can put 0, that's why I print 6, my apologies. 0, so if it's more than 0, so 1, 2, 3, 4, timer. If it's less than 0, so -1, -2, -3, then we need to set it, bracket, so press level equals to 0. So it just basically resets it. However, there is something we can do. So instead of, no, that's fine. We'll leave it there because it's good. So now that should take down and work fine. So if we click play, apologies for the mistakes there. So we come in, number 2, char 2, go up. If we press E, nothing will happen. If we keep pressing E, you notice I'm stuck. There's a bug somewhere, which is not good. So we need to fix it. So that was a really strange bug, and I honestly don't know why that was working, but on my previous one I was using 10 and it was fine, whereas now it's ticking down so fast you can't keep up with it. Yeah, so I'm going to change it to 20 and see if that's okay. Basically it was ticking down so fast on the processor that you couldn't keep up with it. So now if we press E, we can go up and it goes down, so we are fighting against it. we could maybe put 15 and see what that's like. So now it should be a tough challenge. So you can see we press it, you got to really fight against it for you to do it. But if you keep pressing E, it will never be able to tick down. If you let go, it will tick down. Then get to the top, press left shift, boom, dead. Perfect. So what we're going to do is come down, and basically when we press it here, if it's more than or to 65, this one here, we're going to basically grab this, paste it again, but put else. So else, if it's more than 65, all we're simply going to do is just put it, in fact no else, just a normal if, and simply set it to 65. So it's bang on that line, it's not going to go anywhere else, it makes it look a bit neater. Yeah, so we can try it and it should look a lot neater. So when we press it now, it shouldn't overlap. There you go, as you can see, bang on, right in the middle. And if you let go, you're going to fail. Now you have to think, how's it going to be higher up? So don't forget now, you've got to press it more clicks, you're going to get tired faster. Ready? As you can see, it's crashed again, it's taking that much off, you can't do it. So what we're going to do is come down, where this increased level is, where it takes it off, and all we're going to do is simply set it to 10. In fact, no, 6. So you've got to be fast pressing it, but it's always going to take 6 off. 6 is a good way because it's 66, it's a nice way, it's just a random number. As you can see, it's still not going, so we have to try it again. I'm the biggest silly person ever. So, right, we can take it down by the increase level. So put it there. And then what we are going to do is we are going to set it back to 10. Like so. But what we are going to do is not make it take this down every single time we press it. Minus equals. So it's going to take it down every single time. That's not what we want. So what we are going to do is down here. In fact, no, we're just going to put it in start. So it only takes it down once, because we don't want to take it down multiple times. Now when we go into it, it will be a good challenge. So you can see, increase level stays at 3, press it, we will keep going up, press it, it drops down dramatically. Press left shift, boom, dead. Perfect. That was my issue, trying to go against what I planned earlier. Right, so press it, E, really quick. Boom, dead. Perfect. Now, the next thing what we've got to do is for the higher levels, so level 2, halfway through it's supposed to change keys. So you're supposed to get to here and you're supposed to go tick, 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 tick. But it's supposed to say, around about there, press a different key. So you've got to press W now, or something like that. And now this is really simple to do, easier than I expected it to be actually. So what we're going to do is under these strings is we're going to create another one. And after string, we're going to put 2 square brackets, which means array. And what an array is basically a lot of strings all bundled together. The only thing is you can't name them individually, so that's why you shouldn't use them for this. But it's really good. So instead of attack controls, we're going to call it scare controls. So you've got multiple ones. And after this, so we're going to put equals new, string, double bracket again. And then we're going to put 2 of these squiggly ones, which we usually use for these functions here. And then a semicolon. And inside these funky ones here, we're simply going to put E, W, just put the different keys you want them to press. And S. There. So it'll randomise between those different keys there, well, when we program it to. And that's really simple to do as well. So, it comes down here. Are we in range? Yes. Have they pressed the action control? Yes, they have. Are they in scare mode? Yes. One thing we are going to do here is put, if scare mode is not active and they pressed a key, then turn scare mode on, don't ever touch that again. Then it comes down here. Have they pressed the scare key? Yes or no? Yes. Start the timer ticking down. Tick, 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 tick. Well, actually, yeah, the timer's there, but still. So come down here. Every time they press the boost up one, it'll come down here and increase it. Whereas the scare control, it should randomise before they get to there. Surely not. So it should change what they press before they actually press it. Otherwise we get a weird issue. So how do we tell the program to decide when the key should be changed? Well, they could go, if the char level equals 1, change it every time it equals this. Or if it equals 2, do this. But that's just annoying. Let's use clever maths. So, we're going to duplicate press level, and we're going to call it key change level. Just like that. And we're not going to set it to anything yet. Yeah. And in the function update, hit start, apologies, we're going to type key change level equals our maximum 65 divided by the char level. Boom. Get rid of this, and every time it says underscore, change it with that. Sorry, coding convention, still getting used to them. So, every time it starts, change the key level to 65 divided by char level, which will calculate is 65 divided by 1, it'll equal 65, meaning it won't change at all. 65 divided by 2, it'll change when it gets to 33, because it rounds it up. So then, if we go 65 divided by 66, not 666, it'll change every 10. So every 10 it'll get to it, say change a key, change a key, change a key. And that's what we want. That's perfect, you see. Because now what we can do, so come down here and say, and don't forget both of these will round up, so they will one day reach each other. It's just got to happen. So we're going to come down here, and in scare mode above where we press the scare key, we're going to type here, if key change level is the same as press level, and, two ands, press level does not equal 65, I'll tell you why now, because when they get to 65, it's going to say press shift, oh wait, you've got to press W as well, or E, it'll change the key. Whereas if we say if it equals 65, because here it sets it to 65, it's going to get to 65 and go, well, you can't change, so what do you want to do? Shift, you press shift, that's all you got to do. Whereas it comes back down and goes again, it might change. So this is what we need. We're going to type scare control equals, and then we need our controls, so scare controls, and then in square brackets and a semicolon, we're going to type inside these square brackets random.range, and we're going to put between two values, so 0, and then we're going to put scare controls.length. And what this will do is come down and set scare control, which is E, to scare controls go into the array, so we're looking down the folders, and it's going to pick a random one between the range of the first one, 0, because arrays start at 0. Scan all the way folders for the longest one, so what we got 1, 2, 3, 5, and then pick a random one. And it'll add it to the scare control, aka random. Easy, right? So, when they get to a random one, I didn't show you, but it actually stops and waits for them to press that new key. It like gives them a bit more time. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go random, not random level, my apologies, scare control, not scare controls, key change level plus equals press level. Like, and what this does is when it first calculates it here, yes, it will go, right, every 10, so when it reaches 10, it needs to change level. So it come down, change level, then what it'll do here is increase it by what it is, so double it basically. But we don't want it to double it exactly, we want it to just say press level. So don't forget press level is set there to to the increase size, and the increase size is based off of the char level. So it's all based off each other. So if the char level's 1, the increase size is going to be 10. So it'll increase the next level in which it needs to change by 10. But it'll get to 65 and it won't have any more, so it'll just stop. So when it gets to 2, it'll half it, it'll just basically to make it keep going up. It works. And then what we're going to do is give them the extra time. So we're going to type timer equals max timer times, and then we'll say, I found 5 was a good one. 65 divided by char level is 32.5. or 33 if it rounds up. It never reaches the exact same. Whereas, what we can do is if we reverse this, so put this down here, key change level equals increase level times char level. So increase level divided by equals char level, so that'll give us 5 for char 2. So 5 times the char level, so 5 times 2 is 10. So when it reaches it, it'll increase it. Right? That seems okay. Should work. So plus it equals by 1 as well, because I had a little glitch when I was testing it. So what we can do is get it like this, because what it is doing, put it in brackets, is increasing the actual sum by 1. So that gives us 11. We don't want 11. We want it to times it by 1 more. So whatever char level is plus 1. So 15. Can we get to 15? Yes, we can. It's telling us to change to S. So now S will work. Change W, E. So it's not identical to Monsters Inc., but it's better. It's harder. So if we change it to 1, it should technically ask us to change keys halfway through. So we go up, press E, R, S. Press S, Shift, boom. So there we go, it works. If we change it to 6, of course. So all I did to fix it was put that on top, and I'm changing this to 4, and this to 4 up here. And now, we should have a solid thing, it will work. So we can play it, we can run up, and we can go scare time. Click it, E, start scaring, press E, it goes to D, press D, R, scream, boom, gone. So the only other thing we can do is when we get in here and we're in range, and then here, when they're in range and they activate scare mode, we can go GameObject.find player. It'll be capital G, .get component, which is basically going to go to the game object in the world, try to find the one named player. Then we're going to get a component, which is all these things here. Get one of these. And then we're going to put movement in there. In the less than signs, movement, more than sign, bracket, bracket. Dot enabled. So are we going to make it enabled, yes or no? False. So we're turning it off so they can't run around. And then when we destroy it, there, we're just going to enable it again. This stops the player moving around when we're pressing the W keys and stuff, because that was kind of annoying. So could not find the namespace movement. So don't worry about that error, that was simply because I didn't have movement in a JavaScript script. You can't really access both, it's annoying. So anyway, E, now if we press W or ASD we can't move. S, W, Shift, boom, they're dead, and now we can move. Perfect. Only one thing, let's get rid of the debugs, so where it says print, there, get rid, and now we're done. So that's the first ever episode of it. It went a bit wrong, so I could plan it better. The main reason it went wrong the most is because I actually used a texture this time. Whereas on my last one, I didn't. I simply used a box. And I used 120 as a box, which gave me a lot better values, so I planned it all for that. Then I realised the boxes were the same, but yeah, next time that will be changed. Anyway, next time I have an idea what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and make the Crash Bandicoot boxes. So you know where you crash into a box, it goes ding 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 ding, then it picks you one. We're going to pick one of those, hopefully. Yes, hopefully is a big word here. But yeah, so that should easily be done, hopefully. But then, so yeah, so what did you think? Please comment below. Please say what you liked, what you didn't like. Please say I'm an idiot if you really wanted. If you've stuck out this long, please post below cookie. Just the word cookie, so I know you watched all the way. If you did like it, thank you for watching. If you didn't, please say why so I can improve. If you want this series to continue, please say. And if you've got any recommendations, please comment as well. I'm trying to stick away from animation heavy ones. So for example, the Batman Arkham series, the fighting on that, or Sleeping Dogs, the animation's way too beyond what I could do here. So try to think of basic ones if you do. So like, I don't know, Call of Duty knife stabbing or something like that, something easy. Thank you for watching, I really hope you liked it. Everything's in the description below. And if you've got a way to improve it, please do. Post videos or links below.